All right, sports, welcome back to a super dope episode. When we were interviewing the Bathe owners, we popped over to Bathe to check out the place, and we ran into this amazing human being, Dominique Pitts, and she started the brand Mushiverse, which is incredibly beautiful, great branding, great products, and we're going to dive into all that cool stuff. We tried some of it when we were trying out all the different cool saunas and whatnot, but you have such an interesting story. And I'm just, you're here to share that story. So, first of all, you're a chemist, right?
Correct.
Why did you get into chemistry?
I got into chemistry because when I was really young, first of all, I became obsessed with herbology and medical botany and mycology and then psychedelics. And so the beginning road became, how can I be able to help people through all these different, what we call alternative medicines, but it's originally the creator of medicines, the ancient medicines, the precursor to what we have now. And when I got into chemistry, it was because I wanted to be able to formulate new types of medicines that works with the ancient medicines and modern science so that we can be able to have the most bio-optimized solutions for people to heal.
That's very cool.
Thank you.
So what's your background? So your schooling?
Within holistic health, medical botany, herbology, mycology, organic chemistry, and biochem.
Okay. Wow. That's rad. So why these medicines? So you're saying that these are the ancient medicines and they're important and you want to help bring them forward and create new ones, you were saying?
Yeah.
But why? Did you have an experience with them? What pulled you towards, this deep interest towards these?
That's a great question. When I was really young, I got into psychedelics, and funnily enough, I was in middle school and it was in health class that I learned a lot about psychedelics, which is supposed to be the opposite. They're supposed to keep you away from all these things, but they're like, these are the horrible benefits, mass euphoria, deep connection with the heart, expansive vulnerability. I'm like, wow, this sounds revolutionary. And it actually got me thinking at 11 years old to how could we actually help people through these medicines versus using it for wrong or just using it in, wild social situations where people are overdoing it. And so eventually in time, I started getting really curious on my own research and development personally. And when I was 15, I did DMT and I broke through. And at that age, I already knew personally that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience, and we're here to evolve in consciousness and step deeper into love and truth simultaneously. To me, I believe that the greatest pursuit of each soul in this experience is to become self and God realized. And these medicines are essentially breaking down that ego veil to be able to see through soul consciousness again without all the distraction, without all the blurred physical vision that keeps us from the ultimate truth. And at that age, I had the opportunity to have that visual confirmation immediately, I saw my full holographic field. I was able to see all the chakras within my body and others around me, and the silver cords still attached to my body as well as everyone else around, all the way connected to the higher realms. It is a beautiful opportunity for us to not only have more awareness of how we can be able to show up in our day-to-day lives with seeing through the matrix, but also how we can heal, even doing it at a micro level.
Yeah, I'm going to say a lot of 15-year-olds doing DMT for the first time aren't experiencing that. Or they just aren't interpreting in that way. They're probably ripping a DMT pen and going, that's cool, right? So it's maybe you're just a very old soul and you're just reawakened you and go, oh, I remember what I'm here for. But then after you had those experiences, you started studying, but then you opened other businesses. You didn't go right to Mushiverse.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So
no,
how has the winding road led you here, and why all these other things in between?
Yeah. So eventually, when I was young and I was continuing to get more involved within the research and development of these different medicines, I also was like, okay, I don't know how to make this a reality yet, and I need to pay bills. So I was, let's actually build a career here. And
So it was always the intention.
Oh, it was the
Always.
intention. I was always obsessed with it. And,
okay.
I originally was like, okay, I know that this is something that I'm deeply passionate about, but I didn't know how yet to make it a reality. Because at that time, I even looked at the jobs within naturopathic doctors and holistic practitioners, and there really wasn't a lot of openings. So I said, where are there a lot of openings and where can I pivot to start creating abundance here and now? And so I got into tech and I worked my way up in the tech industry. But while I was still in tech, I was biohacking like crazy and I was getting more and more involved in the supplement world. And eventually, when I worked my way up the ladder, I had my last job and I told myself, as soon as you can create a company that is earning the exact same amount of money that you're earning in tech, then it's time to walk away and pursue that fully and do not look back. And so I created a creative agency, DNC Agency, which was all about creative direction, branding, marketing, design, content production through photography, videography, and drone specialization. And it was so much fun. It was finally the opportunity where most souls feel so caged within the corporate world, being able to break out and expand through imagination and working with so many cool companies through multitudes of different projects. But I realized then through that company that I said, okay, what am I doing in my free time that's actually bringing me the most joy? And it was helping people. That's all I was doing, was helping people. I was coaching them for free. And I was like, I need to start really charging for my time here because I'm helping so many people at the cost of now my own energy. And I said, I want to add more value. And so I went and got certified in positive psychology and love and relational dynamics to add even more. And then somatics as well. And so then that led to creating a coaching program and a retreat company called Transcendus. The coaching program was focused on helping people become the best version of themselves possible, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially, and really helping them step into a new paradigm of their own experience and helping them move through and actually fully meet, see, and process their trauma so that they can actually step into a new life that is with clarity, that is with true introspection into the next journey that they want to create for themselves.
Real quick,
yeah.
with that, what was the framework you developed and decided on, like for the people to get all those different things in alignment, like with your retreats? Can you kind of give an idea of how you develop each of those things?
Absolutely. So I think it comes down to actually a little bit more of a simpler process than how people make it. We need to focus on the mind, the body, the spirit, and the heart. And the retreats are all focused on all of those categories. With the mind, we're focusing on removing limited belief systems so that we can be able to be more sovereign thinkers versus seeing through the programming that had been imprinted from the get-go when we were really young and throughout time with society. And then when it comes to the body, it's like teaching people how to be able to be a living embodiment of health, right? So that's kind of redesigning our entire structure of what we're eating day in and day out. How clear and honed in is our water? Like, is it being amplified from a hydrogen perspective? Is it going through a vortex machine, right? Then it's going down to how are we speaking to the mind and the body through epigenetics, because genetically we have the ability to alter and change, but it comes down to every thought that's moving through can rewire. So teaching people that power as well. And then spiritually, we take people through transcendental meditations. We take them through chakra activation work. We take them through third eye acupressure work, which is where you take an acu needle and you put it at the third eye, and it's during the meditation that's actually pulling in the energies upward while they're going inward and focusing their own energies. It's a beautiful way to bring more attention upward. We bring people through somatic breathwork exercises to be able to help the body have releases and push through any blockages that have been locked in the system over time. We do work with people and around the heart space, around asking the really uncomfortable questions that not a lot of people are always ready to hear, but it is what allows us to unfurl and be truly seen and met and be able to process what needs to be processed so that they can be able to let go and actually call in what's more fully aligned for themselves on all levels within their life.
Are there questions that people listening now can even just pose to themselves to get them thinking?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say one of the best questions to ask yourself is, what is one of the things that I'm holding on to in my life that is not truly serving me, that I know if I let go and fully trust and surrender, would be able to experience the reality of my dreams?
Wow.
That's a great one.
Okay, so from there, retreats, then next, you
And then,
kept
oh yeah, and
maneuvering
then
on?
through the coaching, I was also helping people supplementally, because I would say, let me look at your charts and your graphs so I can actually see what's going on from a chemical deficiency perspective.
Like
And
blood work, or what are you looking at?
yeah, I'd want to see their blood work. I'd
Oh,
also
cool.
want to see what's going on from the supplements that they were taking and how we can actually help them, maybe through a microdose protocol. Because if someone is coming to me and they're saying, hey, I have depression, I have anxiety, and I see them on all these different pharmaceutical medications that are causing more damage and more symptoms, I'd want to get them on something that not only can repair their serotonin and dopamine neural pathways, but also be able to then heal them from the inside out. So the microdose protocol began in that way. And then the ceremonies were another thing that we were holding for people during the retreats. And it's in the retreat experiences with the ceremonies and the microdose protocol with the coaching, I just realized that I love being the modern day medicine woman more than anything. That's definitely where God has pulled my heart into and to be in service through. It's couldn't be clearer for me to know that my journey has deeply woven around like being a angel warrior within this field, to like be a pioneer in this revolution to help people understand that psychedelics are not something to fear. They are something to utilize for our expansion and to be used intentionally so that we can be able to live the most optimized life from the inside out.
So you're currently doing retreats still?
Yeah, we still do retreats. We still do ceremonies.
Wow, that's amazing. And then this Mushiverse was born.
Yeah, Mushiverse was born from that. Mushiverse was born 6 years ago. And in the beginning, the first product I actually ever created was because I was going on a ski trip with friends, and with my knowledge base and products, and also just as an alchemist, I was like, I did a lot of research on the best cacao, and I was like, I'm going to put this into a dark chocolate sea salt bar. And that was actually my first product I ever created, which was the dark chocolate sea salt ceremony cosmic chocolate bar. And that one then led to multitudes of products in time. Eventually, I realized when bringing that forth in ceremony and being able to help more people through these products, I was like, there is such an array of discovery that we have yet to even scratch the surface of. The more and more I keep learning and growing and expanding myself, I'm seeing like formulations that we could be able to run in the future that would actually be crossbred with these. Because right now, during certain ceremonies, I'll do combinations of things, but I'm even getting more curious in the combinations behind other ones that we haven't even tried before.
Can you talk about what some of those combinations are?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my favorite go-to, which is a little bit, I guess, more normal for me and people maybe in the ceremony space, but for other people, maybe don't do this as much. One is the heart protocol. It's one of my absolute favorites. The heart protocol is MDMA, and I create the MDMA vials are a ceremonial dose where you'd have 150 milligrams, and that is then utilized with our hero's dose, so 4 to 5 grams of the magic mushrooms. And that combination is so powerful because the mushrooms alone allow for you to be able to be in this beautiful state of unification, remembrance, awareness, and really seeing through that soul consciousness lens. And that's a serotonin and dopamine reuptake inhibitor innately. But the MDMA vial added on to that allows for the oxytocin receptor to be activated now. So now you're having a little bit more of this 360 experience that's firing. If you want to add on a GABA reuptake inhibitor, you could add a little bit of kava to that as well. So now all of them are fully activated and it creates this really well-rounded experience. But the heart protocol itself is revolutionary because it amplifies self-love in a way that you've never experienced before. It is also amplifying love in general in relationships in a way that I've never been able to witness. I've helped couples in relationships as well as marriages be able to save their relationship and save their marriages by going through a heart protocol because it allows both individuals to be able to consciously communicate directly from soul to soul in a way that is world-changing. I mean, most people always have their guard up or they have their pain, they have their trauma. And so they're speaking through that lens of pain, of weakness, of defensiveness versus when that all just gets completely dropped like a curtain falling to the floor with the ego veil. It's just two beautiful young children, essentially, like their inner children and the heart of hearts of them getting to finally meet each other and understand each other.
Oh, I could totally. There's no way if I took that, I could just not share everything so openly, right? And I imagine when you're in relationships for long periods of time, stuff just builds up and it's just hard to communicate like deep feelings or deep hurts.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just gets blocked. Can you do like a micro version of it, or is that specific amounts of both is like the main proprietary like kicking open of this experience?
Absolutely, you can do a micro one. I recommend for the one I just mentioned to be done more in a ceremony setting where you have a private, intimate space that is completely set up for a certain setting. If you're going to do more of a micro version of that, where you're doing like 250 milligrams of mushrooms, all right, so like doing at least like 0.25 is fine. If you want to go 0.4 grams of mushrooms, still within that micro range. And then from the MDMA perspective, I recommend doing at least like 10, 15, 20, keeping it still in that low dosage to where you can still be fully coherent and clear and present, but still operate. That is something that you could do in, let's say, more of a playful environment, like an open festival or something, or I don't know. I don't go out as much as you guys.
We don't go out at all.
No.
Don't overestimate our level of going out.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I meant when I said you guys, I was more meaning like you guys in the world.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
The general you
right.
guys.
Like, yes, exactly. Because a lot of my like friends in class, they will ask me and I'd love to help them in that way. But more for me, it's like I would personally do something like that if I'm doing more micro for my own internal awareness work and like self-reflection work, like out in nature by a waterfall or a spring, or anything that has more connection to nature, or if I'm in a space with 4 or 5 people that I deeply trust, that we can have those high-level conversations at a deep heart-to-heart level.
Yeah, because you're going to be, very open. And like you said, you're sensitive, so you don't need to be open to a bunch of chaos.
Yeah.
When your heart and your mind are so
more
open.
Peace.
Yeah, not more craziness. Yeah, it's so cool.
It makes a lot of sense, the combination of the psilocybin with the MDMA. And you said psilocybin is an SSRI.
Psilocybin absolutely
It
can
is
be
an
used in
SSRI.
place of it.
It definitely can be used in place of it. Would it be qualified as one though?
It would be qualified as one, not to like the heightened degree, I'd say, like if you're going to do something like ibogaine, but it is naturally, yes, like it raises the serotonin and dopamine reuptake inhibitors. Ibogaine takes it a whole nother step further in a way, but that's something that is such an intense medicine. It's not something that you do casually. It's something that you only do, in my opinion, in a very ceremonial setting. Unless it is micro down very, very far, because it lowers the heart rate extremely.
And I imagine nowadays, because all of us are so inundated with depleting our dopamine, microdose protocol could be so beneficial for most people. Do you have a protocol you prefer or even developed yourself that you see the most success with, or is it very individual with mushrooms?
I have my own protocol and I advise people with that protocol, but I will express that every single person, as you guys know, are different. Everyone's going to have a different biochemical makeup, different biometrics. And so at the end of the day, listening to yourself and becoming more attuned with what do you really need is going to be better than anything. However, the best protocol that I recommend to people is doing 4 days on and then 2 days off, because the normal one is around doing 2 to 3 days on and then 2 days off, or there's another protocol where you're doing 5 days on and 2 days off. I feel with the 4 days on, it's a little bit in the sweet spot of the both. And for full reconnectivity in the neural pathways and being able to rebuild the synapses in the brain, we need a little bit more time, especially if it's someone that doesn't have a strong connection to these medicines, right? So that buildup has yet to actually take place. So if someone had been doing psychedelics for a long time and then now they're just getting reintegrated, those neural pathways have been activated before, and those neural networks are already communicating even if years have passed because it's been initiated, right? It's a beautiful initiation period in the mushrooms. Like once they're in, they fully have actually had an opportunity to connect, but we do need to go back to ensure that we're getting back to a state of neurogenesis. So in short, I recommend annually to do 2 to 3 microdose protocol periods that are going to be around 1 to 2 months long for each one, and then 2 macro experiences per year. That's going to always ensure that you are in a full state of neurogenesis at all times, which means that you're constantly in a state of expanded neuroplasticity and in an ongoing state of cellular regeneration and longevity. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of the clinical reports where it helps expand the cell life by 50% if using ongoing.
Talk more about that, the regeneration of cell life. Using psilocybin.
Absolutely. So when we are partaking of these medicines, we actually have a ability to be able to have the cellular connection where all of the different molecules in the body are essentially getting activated when the medicine is hitting the body. When they're getting activated, it creates this vibrational wave effect in the nervous system. And when that's occurring, that vibrational wave system is signaling all the neurons to start growing and start regenerating. When that's happening, the synapses now start communicating more and saying, oh, we actually don't need to be in a state of stagnancy or degradation, and they can start rebuilding new ones as well. So it's this beautiful ripple effect across the body, the mind, the nervous system, the brain, on how we can be able to be better optimized. But essentially, it's like a cellular singing choir, like all in unison, fully being activated all at once.
In order for that to happen, is there a dose that needs to be like a threshold dose? Like, does it need to be above 2 grams? Does it need to be above 3 to be able to consider it for you like a macro?
Absolutely. Great question. So for sustaining that state of neurogenesis, 1 full giant macro can get you there, and you would be great for a good 6 months or even more sometimes, based on the health of that person's body. For a microdose protocol, I always recommend at least 2 months in order to actually create that full connection on a totality level. The dosing wise of what would make that a macrodose experience, I personally would say if you can go for it, 4 grams of mushrooms. If someone's not feeling yet comfortable within that, then 3 grams is just fine. For people who have not had a fully established relationship, though, with these medicines, so sometimes even 2 grams can be very substantial because they haven't had that experience yet. But again, it's based on their own toxification levels, their own inflammation, their own health. So if you're giving me someone that's like 350 pounds, drinks a lot, doesn't eat healthy, doesn't have clear air, clear water, 4 grams might be nothing to them, right? So they might need a higher dose to be able to combat what's going on within this vessel in order to reach that mind and body of that individual, right? Versus someone who eats very clear, like raw macrobiotic diet. Even if they've never done mushrooms, I could give them 1.5 and they'll have a very illuminating experience, right? So the more clear we are individually, the purer we are as vessels, as channels, the greater the ability we have to be conduits for this medicine.
Mm-hmm. If you're muckied up,
yes,
it's not gonna hit the same. Not gonna get the same effect.
Exactly.
Yeah, less is more. That makes sense. So this might be a really loaded question. It could probably take up 6 podcast episodes, but if there's a condensed version, in what instances and scenarios do you recommend the different medicines for people? So whether it's psilocybin, LSD, 2CB, San Pedro, whatever, ketamine, SNR, like what are the triggers that you see when you work with someone to know, okay, this is the medicine that they may need in this moment?
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful question. Thanks for asking. I recommend psilocybin for situations where you're going to have the opportunity to be able to drop in a little bit more. But then again, everyone's going to do what they're going to do at the end of the day. But I will express that if you can do a micro in place of alcohol when going out, just a micro enough gets you to that state of a little bit more euphoria, a little bit more play, a little bit more sociability. I know some people say that they might experience anxiety on a small dose, but normally when I've had a lot of time to talk to my clients that experience that, it always almost comes down to like they're naturally just an anxious person. It's not the medicine that's bringing it forward.
It's just showing you more of you.
Exactly, right. But normally for most people in social settings, I recommend doing like a microdose of psilocybin in any normal social setting. Like it can be literally anywhere, as long as, you know, you're doing it for the right reasons and you're always setting that intention. That's what matters most to me. I recommend that over all medicines for casual settings. If you're doing more of a festival experience, you could do a micro and let's say like a micro of MDMA too. So your heart's being opened up. You're being able to be in a setting where you're with friends. You guys are enjoying the moment and having fun. I personally wouldn't recommend doing a macrodose in that experience because there's so many different energies at play. And I know a lot of people don't think about this, but your aura is going to be more open. So when your aura is more expanded, you're going to be a fishing net for other energies that are around you. And so it's just to be cautious and also self-protecting around that. I recommend the macro doses of that for any macro doses, I'm always going to recommend to be in a setting that is completely intentional, where all the music is curated. The individual that you are with or small amounts of individuals that you know very well, you deeply trust, that you feel inspired by, and that you can naturally be yourself with. Macro setting, you understand that? No. But outside of like the, let's say, sanctuary settings of that, you don't always have to be in a place for those macro settings too, that are like a beautiful Airbnb or a gorgeous house. It can also be outside, right? Outside is actually like one of the best places if there's good weather and it's not too hot or not too cold. That's amazing because the energy is open and connecting with nature is the absolute best medicine.
Nothing is better than outside journeys.
1,000%. 1,000%. The other medicines like LSD, because it is so neural and mental and spiritual and so intense as a medicine, I recommend to do that one for macro settings, like only outside. You can do it inside, but it doesn't make sense. If you're going to do it right, like trust me and hear me, do it outside. Microdosing LSD is something that can be done anywhere. It's so unique in that way, where it adds that little extra bit of clarity, a little bit of concentration, a little bit more heightened emotional awareness, and a little bit more energy. So it is something that you could do before like go giving a pitch in business. You know, it's something that you could go do before going to the music studio and producing music. It's a lot more versatile in that way and doesn't impact you at such a crazy level, where I feel like even micro amounts of psilocybin sometimes, even if it is tiny, if you're really sensitive like me, and I have to go give a speech and I had a micro, I mean, I was honed in and I was tuned in and ready for the speech, but I could really feel a little bit more in my emotional body, maybe more than I wanted. So you just have to understand yourself and really like cue in, like, where am I fully mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually when intaking these medicines, even if they are micro amounts. For, let's see, what other ones? Oh, for ketamine, for example, ketamine is like a wave of calm over the body, and also because it is a dissociative, where every other medicine that we were talking about is an expander. The dissociative is going to just kind of create this, what I call like a bloop, little bloop effect from the mind, where it's literally like putting you in this little spaceship and it's taking you out of that cortex and it's getting you into more of that space of calm. And you're getting to travel through that tranquility and peace. And even in like a micro amount, that's the best way I can describe it. It's like a wave of calm over the nervous system, and in a heightened amount, you're going to experience like a full disassociation. That is something that I would recommend, like in a very safe environment. Probably actually inside is better for ketamine, just because I've noticed that cooler settings can be even better, like with a lot of like blankets and pillows and just like making that little being feel very cushy, because they kind of, like I said, they go into the bloop effect and then they just end up in a little cloud and you need to like protect the cloud baby. But micro amounts of that can be done in other simple casual environments too, like when you're out with friends, hanging out in nature. It could be a festival environment. It could be, dinner parties. I mean, you name it. Micro amounts can be done almost anywhere, but you just want to be mindful and intentional. Again, I can't control how other people are going to choose to imbibe in their medicines, but my hope is that everyone at some point is using it for the most intentional reasons for their own expansion. And if they're going to lean towards something, I'd be happy any day that they lean towards something that actually has true benefit and value to help their body versus something like alcohol or worse that could degrade and cause detrimental value.
Mm-hmm. I found that a micro of ketamine far surpasses alcohol for like a night out if you're with friends, or even just a daytime dip at Barton Springs. Like it's better than having a beer or taking a shot. You don't have the same icky feeling the next day, and your liver's not screaming for help.
Right.
It's clean. Can you talk about the two isomers of ketamine? Because I'm sure a lot of people don't even know there's two types, and they might just be buying one or the other and thinking they're having wildly different experiences.
Absolutely. Thank you for touching back on that. So a lot of people turn normally to the S isomer just because it's what's been more wildly known. And it's also what's been pushed more throughout the market as well, and also within clinical centers. But there's a whole other isomer, which is the R isomer, and that one is very unique in the way it's still under a lot more studies right now, and it hasn't gone through tons of extreme publishing yet, but it will get there because the differentiating properties of it are where if you partake of something like an S-isomer ketamine, the lasting effects are normally only a few days at max. And so then people will go back to that medicine if they're looking for the feeling effects and what it can offer. But for R, the lasting effects are several weeks. And it's more focused on creating a symbiotic connection of more the mind and the body. It does feel a little bit more in the body when you're partaking of that medicine naturally. But then the S is more of the mind. So my best advice for people is like understand if you are wanting to disconnect more from the mind, or if you're wanting to connect more with the body, but with having that release effect of the mind, you can have two different options there. And I wish more people know that, and hopefully this will help them understand that.
Yeah, I'm curious with like ketamine, it's super popular. I was watching a video of it's like post Shambhala, and the guy was doing interviews of everybody. He would just say like, "What are you on? What are you on? What are you on?" And it was like 90% of people said they were on ketamine. So clearly, it's like extremely popular.
It is.
And I'm curious, what is happening like in the body physiologically when you take ketamine in, and then what are the potential benefits? So like with mushrooms, you're saying you get that neurogenesis. Are there specific benefits? Or when it does create a change in your physiology, are there things you can do, whether it's micro or macro, to enhance those changes that are like being primed?
Yeah, great question. So I'm going to make this as digestible as possible. With the isomers of ketamine, it creates what I call more of like this prefrontal cortex blackout effect. And it is this duration of time where all of the neural networks that are constantly normally in motion, trying to overthink, trying to overprocess, it gives it a pause button and allows for them actually to not be hyper functioning all the time. So now you're actually in more of a, I'm just being. I'm in a present state where you can still fully function, have all the normal abilities, but the hyper functioning area has now been put on blackout, so you can be able to experience what it's like actually to be more in that childlike state of presence. And so that's why people are like, oh, I get a little bit more giggly, I get a little bit calmer and just more like tranquil and at peace. I'm like, yes, when you're actually stepping into the frequency of presence, it changes a little bit. So it's actually working with neural networks in an opposite way. It's not activating it as much. It's actually putting it on pause and kind of like literally, like if you can imagine like the nerves and all the neural networks kind of like being filled with like a black block for a moment so that not having as much circuitry to be able to process and be able to actually feel what it's like to not have so much going on within the mind, which at first, I thought, I'm like, well, I always want to be hyper-functioning and always want to be constantly, in a deep state of connectivity. But then I realized, oh, this is definitely a time and place for this medicine for sure. And it has a very powerful benefit. And I understand why it's become so popular with so many people is because this day and age, there's so many people that are so consumed by the mind. There's so many distractions in this day and age, and there's so much going on in our everyday lives that just to have that moment to be and to kind of have that calm and breakaway where you can still function and go about your day is a beautiful gift to be able to offer people.
That's cool.
I feel like it also, since you said it's dampening your prefrontal cortex to a degree, I feel like it also removes a lot of that self-judgment and self-consciousness that comes from having an overactive prefrontal cortex, where you just sort of release the inhibitions and you care less about what people think, similar to alcohol, where you're like, I'm free and I'm loose. But it's more like you're so, like you said, silly and playful, because at the core, we all are. At the core, we're all children, right? You just want to like say silly things and be goofy, and it really allows you that space to just go into that and say what's on your mind and have a fun, like jovial time without judgment of what people are thinking of you. And you can just relax into that. And then, yeah, I think over time, your prefrontal cortex remembers to not be so stressed the fuck out about that.
Very true. Very true. I wish more people could be able to understand that this life moves so fast. And I know they know that in hindsight, but to truly integrate that knowingness and understand that because it is moving at such a fast rate, life is best lived when you can be able to be your full, complete self at all times, right? And in whatever regard, like as wild as you want to be, as unique as you want to be, as bold, intense, passionate, whatever it may be, like be all of it. Because at the end of the day, we are these all-powerful, vast, multidimensional beings, fully made of cosmological stardust and God's innate spark that's been injected into us, all floating on a rock in the middle of the cosmos, So it's like,
it's comical.
Have fun, while you're here and be your full self and do everything to be that embodiment of love and be a beacon of truth, because there's so many people who are scared of doing that. And I'm like, why? Why?
It's because they're so attached to this like simulation, basically.
Well, yeah.
They're so attached. Yeah. And a lot of people have never, I think that's one of the power of psychedelics. It can break that. So then you see the different perspective. And the comparison is when people have those. So I sent you that telepathy tapes. The season 2 is so fucking crazy. Do you know the telepathy tapes? So season 2 is all about NDEs. So they released the first one, it's 2 hours long. And it's the way that show's done is like NPR. It's like she's interviewing people, then she goes to another guy, and there's like 6 different people that share stories. And these people come back and then they realize how much it's just about what you just said, right? Which psychedelics, they actually interview this guy who does research and compares the difference between NDE experiences and psychedelics. And there's a lot of crossover, but there are some slight differences, but they're having the same change. In one of the stories, there was this individual, she was under anesthesia and she left her body and she goes up and she's like, and one interesting thing they say, all the NDEs, that it's more real than real, which is pretty wild. But she meets this being and he says to her, I thought this was so cool. He's like, you said you weren't going to forget. And she's like, I know, I forgot. And he's like, well, you got to go back. And she goes back into her body like crying tears of joy. It's just like so cool. And I think once you realize that, like you're saying, it's like, yeah, it's going to be all okay, but your job is just to like enjoy and fully express. And I think people can't because they get so attached to, I need money, or these things or situations or bills are such big deals. They're so real, right?
Right.
And this stuff just kind of, these products and doing psychedelics like unlodges that rigidity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that what you were just saying around like, oh, there's the money aspect, there's all these other things from a worldly perspective we need to take care of, and it gets in the way, right? Then plus the programming, then plus your own ideologies that you've built up over this time. But the breakdown effect that I try to share with people is that throughout time, this entire experience becomes a frequency attunement experiment. And that experiment is not demeaning that, yes, I know we have to create a certain amount in order to live the life of our dreams, and it takes time to do that. But it is not as complicated as we make it. It becomes more this refinement system of our own awareness. And the deeper that we refine that, the deeper that we become more aware and more honed in, which is a lot more self-work than outer work. It is a ripple effect to the outer. The abundance naturally starts becoming more aligned with our experience. The connections that we yearned for years ago now become magnetized to us. It is a constant moment-to-moment experience of surrender, trust, faith, while you're also religiously showing up within this experience and saying, okay, I am devout to being able to stay dedicated and persistent in the pursuit of my own purpose. And I think that's where a lot of people fall off track within their own expression, their own creation in this life, is because they hold too much fear around creating their own pursuits. And the thing is, like, you're either going to work the rest of your life building someone else's dream, or you can build your own dream and work just as hard. I'd choose the second one, but it's so totally okay if you do the other one too. There's no wrong in that. And at the end of the day, I'm like, if you're going to be happy and you're providing for your family and you get to have a great life, then that's beautiful. That's beautiful. But I think that the more and more that we can be able to do the work that's hard, which is a lot of inner work, we experience a way more expansive life. And the expression aspect becomes the only way that we can live life, because the more and more you move closer to your authentic expression, you can't operate from any other wavelength. And then it becomes so juicy because life gets that much more beautiful the more that you do it.
Yeah. In that same like episode, one of the beings says that like that's the purpose basically, is to experience this bliss when he goes to the other side when you're here, just like you're saying, which I thought is so cool. And how, like for you, how do you tell people, or how, like people listening, how can they tell they're moving towards that direction, right? Like you're saying, I'm more my authentic, and you know, you're experiencing more of my like purpose and true self. Like, how can they tell that they're moving in that direction?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or moving away from that direction.
For sure. For sure. I think there's several different factors that you're going to be able to know how much more you're becoming aligned within the life that you want to live, and also like living through that heightened state of consciousness. And one is your level of self-awareness, spatial and environmental awareness of others as well. And it's also going to come down to your emotional awareness, intelligence, and capacity. A lot of people talk about how emotional intelligence is one of the most beautiful qualities, but in today's day and age, I feel like the capacity aspect is really missing on both sides of the pendulum of the masculine and the feminine, where I feel like a lot of the side on the masculine has gone where I'm not seeing the embodiment more of deeper into the masculine and falling more into the side of not taking on as much responsibility, and then the feminine, where they're not fully embodying what it means to surrender and to trust more. And so you're going to notice the more and more that you're awakening, it's like your awareness is going to be cued in. You're going to be taking radical responsibility for how you're showing up within your reality in all aspects. You're not playing victim in any regard. You realize that everything within your reality is a byproduct of how you're showing up here and now. And you're also going to see the level of empathy and compassion that you're carrying is next level. Like, you're not going to be able to go throughout your day and see that someone right in front of you needs help. You're not even going to think, you're going to act immediately. You're already there lifting them up and helping them. Like, that's just who you are. It's a wavelength that you operate from. I think that the level of love that you're going to be embodying too has to be overflowing. It's a constant state because it's not something that you're trying to do. It's not something you're thinking about doing. It is an actualization of how you're living this life. And everything that you do, that you're injecting that unconditional love and carrying that through. Another thing is deep fortitude. Your mind has to be so locked in and honed in that you are not falling prey to the matrix game out there in the world, that when some advertisement comes across a board, that you can lock in with your vision, immediately hone in and not be drawn astray by like a moth to a flame, right? Same thing when these propaganda things are coming through within the world and these psyops, that you're able to immediately pull your focus in and be able to remember what's real, what your truth is. Like, you start getting on those steps, you're going to know really quickly, oh, I'm tuning in a little bit more. Like, that's, I think, the beginning foundation of honing those in. And then the foundation of being able to see intuition-wise around that. I always say that the quickest way to know when something is your intuition versus ego, anytime that you have to make a decision in life, it could be as simple as, should I go out tonight? Should I not go out tonight? Or should I make this next business venture? Should I not? The first initial voice that comes through is your soul. Anything after is the mind and ego. It's a very quick way to start honing that connection to the intuition. The more and more you practice that, it becomes this profound exercise where you have so much more power of the reins of your mind back in your hands and not being the monkey mind that's you're trying to chase around inside. How to be able to tell when you're falling away from that is when you start doing things out of a lack of self-love. You start entertaining things that are not for your highest good. You start holding on to things longer than you should that are not serving you in all aspects. That's when we get caught up in the attachment of this experience. And it's easy to do. We all do it. We've all been there. We've all had that. It's a part of the human experience. But a big part of that is down to the root. It's fear, it's attachment, it's desire body. And as soon as we can get more control over that, the more honed in, and it's okay. We're gonna fall off sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a part of it. But pulling ourselves back and being able to be loving with ourselves in the process, and say, hey, you know what? I don't know why you did that yesterday, but you know what? It's okay. We're gonna get back up on the horse and we're gonna ride this out, and we're gonna make sure to stay on path this time. Having deep compassion on ourselves when we do fall off is really important. But also not having to replay the same patterns over and over and over is also even more important.
I imagine with your coaching, you're individually helping people move in the direction they want and away from that, and kind of helping them, tailor a program for them, what they can do. Because everybody's so different. It's even with fitness. Like, everyone has a different situation, and they have kids, they don't have kids, they work a lot, they don't, like sleep schedule, whatever, all kinds of different things. And so you kind of have to figure out what they need, what they can handle, where they're at. But I imagine there's a universal, like, core practices that you've seen work for everybody that they can implement to whatever degree. Like, what would you say those are? Like, there's staples that no matter who you're working with, everybody or most people should be implementing these things, because people listening to can start to just practice these now to move forward.
Yeah, I'd say one of the biggest ones is removing limiting belief systems. It's identifying your entire makeup from when you were very young around the belief systems that you carry, the values that you carry, the morals why you carry, writing that down on a sheet so you get very clear of every single one that you can possibly think of. And then on the other side of the page, asking yourself why and when did these actually become ingrained within my life, right? It's important to understand like why we've even had all these values, morals, and belief systems. Some people don't even stop to question that, and it just becomes a way of life. And then once you get to the other side on the page, so you're doing like a 3-column, the why factor saying, what do I desire to rewire? And that is your new set of programming that you get to start injecting into your day-to-day. And it's seeing what aligns, like if one of those belief systems still is completely congruent to the life that you want to live, beautiful. Carry that on to the other side. If you're seeing something you're like, I have no idea why I'm still carrying this and this is not in alignment with who I am anymore, great. We're going to cross that out and we're going to start reprogramming. A big part of the life experience is deprogramming and actually letting go of programs so we can just get back to being and redefining what it means to truly live life through a state of sovereignty. That's one of the main programs. And then it comes down to shadow work. Shadow work is so deeply important for integration and for our own soul's evolution. And I know a lot of people talk about shadow work, but I think that there's surface level ways of discussing shadow work. And then I think there's the deep alchemical way of talking about shadow work. And that's where I really like to help people. There's so many ways in which we have covered up some of the harshness and difficulties and challenges within our lives, and going back into those experiences, not to relive them, but to actually ask similar questions like we did with the limiting belief systems around what did I feel during this experience and how did it transform me to who I am today? And if I was to go back to that experience and alter it to change the perspective that I hold now, what would that look like? What would that feel like? And being able to redesign its stationing in your own mind and system in real time is next level powerful.
Is there, going back to the self-limiting beliefs, I think a lot of people don't realize they have self-limiting beliefs, or I imagine, say they're going to do this exercise and they're asking, what are my self-limiting beliefs? And there's a lot of things I think people believe they don't realize are self-limiting. Is there a way you can phrase that to like penetrate through that part of your brain that you don't even realize is a self-limiting belief? Like, is there a way you can phrase that to pose the question to yourself, do you think?
Yeah, I think the simplest way for any of those beliefs within your write-up that you do or when you do self-reflection on it is this something that is truly creating liberation for me? I think it's honestly becomes more as simple as that. If someone truly believes that that belief is liberating them in a deep way, then I don't think we are the ones to get in the way of like what is aligned for them right then and there for their wavelength of consciousness, right? If it truly is liberating them.
Liberating them from what?
Liberating them from the experience, right? Like adding something to their lives in a way that has positive impact. Because if it's not adding like true positive impact, it's not truly allowing you to be in a state of greater freedom, greater awareness, then I wouldn't call that liberation, right? I wouldn't call that a belief system that's really serving us. That's what I mean by that.
Yeah, you could even take that back. That's good because it's so individual to everybody. Instead of having a blanket judgment of being like, doing these things are good, doing these things are bad. I mean, you could even just compare it with exercise. It's like, are you doing this exercise? Like, do you feel, how do you feel after you do it? Like, maybe you got to do it for a while till you feel good, but is it something that you're doing as a punishment because you think you need to be or look a certain way and you're just drudgingly doing it? Or do you actually feel this like you love dance, but you're like, I should probably do Stairmaster, but you dance and you feel so open and vibrant, you shouldn't feel guilty because you should, like you're saying, follow that thing that's liberating you. And that could come from any, like, if I tell you to eat this certain amount of protein and it's literally fucking pissing you off, then stop.
Yeah.
Like don't do these things if it's really like against how you're feeling and
I think there's actually like a fine line. So let me actually reel it back a little bit. The fine line is, yes, it should liberate you, but what I was trying to get is like liberating in a way that is truly helping you evolve, right?
Okay.
Because if it's getting to a state where, like, obviously I don't want someone to have to eat like 1,000 grams of protein if they want to go about that day, that's okay, please. But if it comes down to someone is only wanting to do the instant gratification network of liberation, that's where it's falling in accordance of not actually truly serving that soul's evolution. I think we have to understand that everything in life takes time to be able to be fully manifested. And some things can be pretty momentous. But when it comes to going to the gym, for example, like you brought up, it takes time, right? Of our own investment, our own dedication, our own resilience and ability to say, I'm going to eat healthy and I'm going to be consistent and I'm going to be more focused on progress, not perfection. But just like going to the gym, we need to daily go inward. We need to exercise the soul. We need to exercise the mind. Being able to exercise the mind is going to be coming down to constantly all throughout the day. You are pivoting when the ego comes in, has a judgmental thought. You're like, that is not me. I am redefining this. I know who I am. Like your soul voice becomes louder the more and more that you hone back in that energy. Same thing with the soul energy and your intuition. You're going inward, you're contemplating, you're meditating, you're taking that time to really stretch the soul, right? It all takes time to build. It all takes time to hone. So I think that those states of liberation absolutely are deeply important, but also it takes a constant willingness to keep showing up to sustain them, to advance them. And that's a big part of the entire picture that we're desiring to create.
Yeah. Real quick. Yeah. Not the type of people who are just like, oh, this doesn't feel good, so I need to do what just feels good all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean is like, if you're chronically doing it for years and it always is, it's not leading you where you want to go and it's like a punishment. But you need to push yourself and do things and see where it goes. And yeah, exactly. You're not letting your emotions just lead you all over the place.
Yeah.
Taxes don't feel good. I'm not going to pay taxes.
Well, I still don't pay taxes. What would you qualify, like specifics, as the instant gratification liberation facade?
Say that one more time.
Like the instant gratification liberation you mentioned. What particular things have you seen that people qualify as, oh, I'm liberating myself, but it's really just that instant gratification type of thing? Like what should people be aware of?
Yeah.
They might hear you say that and go, sure, but I don't know what that means. What are the specific things that you've seen in the past that someone might be doing as quote unquote liberation, when it's really just potentially holding them back or just keeping them in the same place?
I love that you asked this question. This is a good one.
Good.
Yeah. Immediately what came to mind is the enactment versus embodiment. I think that it is so easy for people to think that they are living the spiritual life and going through it in a way that is cohesive with sovereignty, liberation, transcendence. But the embodiment is missing. It is solely going through the motions. You're showing up to the breathwork classes, you're going and having your kundalini activated, and you're doing the yoga and you're drinking your green juice, and you might do a couple mantras here and there. But then behind the scenes, you're judging others. Behind the scenes, you are judging yourself and being down on yourself, and you're not doing what you need to do to properly take care of yourself, right? That's where I feel like there is a deep imbalance, where there is a strong love to identify with being spiritual, being evolved, being liberated. But when it actually comes down to it, it's not all sunshine, rainbows, and daisies. It's actually a lot of darkness. It's a lot of thresholds. It's a lot of obstacles and challenges that we have to be willing to face, those uncomfortabilities, so that we can truly be able to know what it's like to reach that state of embodiment. Embodiment cannot be faked. Anyone who is highly attuned and energetically tapped in will be able to see you immediately and be able to read you from the inside out. That's something that cannot be faked. I think what also gets in between, the aspect of someone who is trying to get to the state of liberation but is still falling back is they have yet to fall into a state of deep trust within themselves. I think that there is a lot of lack of trust and fear of what actually might happen if they fully did it, and then getting to see that actualization. But all that's going to happen is more beauty. Sure, you might trip a little bit along the way, but it's going to be more beautiful because your authentic self is naturally going to spiral out at the end.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier the psyops that people believe, or they get tricked into believing. What are the biggest psyops you've seen recently that people are just falling for?
The main virus. What is the main
What's
virus?
The mind virus.
Yeah, God, there's so many, but I would say more than anything is the grand illusion, which in my opinion is trying to do everything to turn you away soul focus wise from the truth, right? Every single day, we can see so many people's energies being pulled away from them from social media, war, gender confusion within young groups of children. We are seeing, the change around like the pendulum of the divine feminine and the divine masculine right now, which is going through a wild shift on a cosmic level. And I feel like the government and other interesting characters within that system are doing everything to utilize the attention economy to keep people as distracted as possible, because I know people think that screen time is just a number that gets sent to you through a notification on a phone, but I want that changed to say your soul attention has just been literally fed. Like, people need to understand, like, every moment that we give to literally everything, that is a moment of your life that you have given where your soul energy has now been taken in and digested and, or drank, and that is a whole part of their big system where I just want to help get people back to honing in their attention and energy, because that is one of the biggest ones, the attention economy. Then there is the identification aspect, where it's like, if you can give people a giant net of identifications and let them pick out of it, they'll probably pick a lot. Every single person. It's very normal. But at the end of the day, soul knows no identification. Soul is, I am everything.
We're all just
once.
in a void.
Correct. Right? And so they are pushing agendas too to get people to think that the more identifications that you carry, the greater your value, when it's actually the opposite. The less that you carry shows me, and if you're choosing consciously to do that, the greater that you've come to realize that you're everything all at once, and there's no need to hold the illusion of that. I think those psyops are very big at this time, and also, if you want to touch on the illusion of love, I think that love is everything, and love is our greatest power. But I think when we are down here in this experience, we're all shown in so many ways from when we're really young, right? Through movies, through commercials, this huge production of what love is. But the reality is, like, the love that most people experience in relationships and on the outer is very complex. People make it very complex because they project and they create this experience that is not unified through true unconditional love. And I think the rare occurrence that we get to experience unconditional love in this life, at least I can speak from my own experience, is definitely maternal love, like through my own mother and our relationship. That is the most unconditional love I've ever experienced in my entire life in the physical, outside of the experience of Source and God on the inner. That is the truest love we will ever experience. But we are shown so much propaganda to pull us on the outer to be like, oh, like, you're the pressure of women and like your biological clock is ticking. You need to start getting married and have babies already. And I'm like, no. Whatever is most highest within our divine alignment is perfect. At whatever timing for that soul is beautiful. But we have so many different pressures, and I think that's just this wild encapsulated agenda of so many different things trying to pull us away from how cued in can you be to focus on the inner truth. How much can you be able to remember that the true embodiment of unconditional love is the highest wavelength, and the deeper that you become an authentic expression of your own soul, that you're waking up to the illusion of it all.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever done Latifa?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience. Do you want to explain it for people who don't know what that is?
Yeah, happily. It's a mystery practice. I believe it came from the Osho world, and then it's made its way into like the ISTA world, and then into spiritual communities all around. But it's essentially the practice of releasing all of the labels that you have and stepping into what is the abyss, what is the mystery. And so you take everything that you are, your name, your gender, your accolades, your opinions, your beliefs, whatever, and you just sort of put that to the side and you allow yourself to just be nothingness. And so it's a blindfolded exercise in a room with as many people as you want. Mm-hmm. Originally with Osho, it was separated by gender. So it was men in one room, women in the other. But now most practices are co-ed.
Yeah.
And you essentially move as slowly as possible, blindfolded. And so you disconnect from who you believe you are and every belief that you've been raised with, and then you just are a soul. And you might slowly bump up against another physical body. And the goal is not to think, oh, is this a man? Is this a woman? Is this whatever? It's just, how does my body react to this being? Because I'm a void creature. I'm in the mystery. And so then you just allow yourself, your soul, to guide you in whichever direction it wants to go. And the goal is to not think. It's like, oh, I heard something over here that's interesting. I want to go there. It's just allow your feet to move or crawl or whatever, and you just move in the way that feels completely authentic to how your soul wants to be and how it wants to act. And one of the craziest things is stepping out of that, and they call it the sacred witness, where you step on the sidelines and you take your blindfold off. Once you take your blindfold off, you can't go back in. Mm-hmm. You can't look at it and then go back in. So, but if you want to, you can step out, take your blindfold off, and watch the people, the bodies, like moving through that. And it's like,
it's pretty wild.
It's a wild piece of art. Just to watch all these like mystery bodies moving and coming in contact and doing things that you would never expect humans to do. It's not sexual really, but it's just like this moving art piece of moving structure that's fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I've done it before, and it was an interesting experience. I would say I very quickly became an observer.
Yeah, it can be triggering for a lot of people. It's an intense experience.
I love tantric practices, and I could talk y'all's ear off about sacred sexuality, but when it comes to Latihan, for me, being so sensitive, I can pick up on other people's energetic signatures and their like where they're coming from within that energetic signature. And so because I am so sensitive to that, it actually made me feel unsafe. Not that the environment wasn't safe. It was a safe environment, all great people. It's just when it comes to physicality and things like that, it was only the women that I actually was like, okay, like I felt like fine. I could just like flow around and be with them, but I could feel the longing and yearning and desire when I was brushing up against some of the men. It didn't make me feel protected. And so that's where I was like, I'm going to just go sit and I'll watch and observe. And I think, that just comes down to one's own awareness to truly check in. Some people just show up to things, but it's making that conscious decision, like when you show up, hey, I am in a public space, in an environment with other souls, and out of respect to them, I'm going to check my energy. To show up with as much intention, love, and care and safety as possible, right? But not everyone does that. Some people just show up and they're like, oh, I'm here to have fun, and they're not tuning in. Like, oh, if I feel like the softness of a woman's body and she's delicate and feeling in, like I could feel them literally getting activated and not honing in their energy and like creating that safety in real time. So that's where at first it was interesting. Then I was like, okay, I'm ready to go to the side and observe. And I think it can be an interesting experience when there is an immense amount of intention. But a lot of things, like when it comes, even though it is like a platonic exercise, I just feel as though if even more intention can be brought in for like energy checking in the beginning, for people, that could be a really powerful tool. So it'd become even more of a grounding experience for all people.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. There's a level of I like how you said it, energy checking that needs to happen. And most people are showing up because they're invited, or it's fun, it's interesting, or it's like it's a cool thing to experiment with. Or maybe they've done it a couple times at a retreat and they want to do it, out and about. But it is definitely one of those things where you'll feel everybody's energy a lot. And it becomes very apparent because your eyes are closed, and then you're even more tapped in with your other senses. And I would imagine it's more of an advanced, like anybody can do it, and I think everybody should experiment with it.
For sure.
But it is an advanced level of cognition that's needed to be there and be able to check your energy. Otherwise, you have the experience that you just spoke about, where you can feel the longing, and then your biology kicks in, like the man's biology kicks in. It's like, oh, soft skin, I like that, I want to touch that more.
Right.
When it's like, yeah, but you got to check that. It's not about the skin you're touching. It's about the soul inside that skin. Was that an interesting person? And you'll feel that. Like sometimes I'll brush up on like a woman's arm and I'm like, I don't even like that at all. But it definitely takes some practice and some checking.
Yeah. I guess I just think in general, it's a very interesting place that we're in right now, I think, within the world when it comes to our relationship in general to physicality, and how that can even correlate to more Platonic experiences in the world, right? I think Lottie Han, most people will not even know about that because it is a very unique practice, right? Our society is very far from understanding, I think, the ways in which we can create so much more playfulness and creativity and unification through different fun Platonic exercises. Like I love authentic relating for that reason. But even more, I feel like there's just in general a deep amount of uncomfortability and fear around relating in that way that still some people are just beginning to learn, like about cuddle puddles, and realizing cuddle puddles can just be cuddle puddles and everyone can just actually like have these deep conversations and connect in heart and realize it doesn't have to be anything but like like a pile of grown-up children together, like loving each other and being present and having amazing conversations. But I look forward into the future where more people have greater comfortability and less fear and more love, and their intention and purity is heightened so that we can have greater experiences like that.
Yeah, I feel like that would, in order to pull that off, you'd have to be in more smaller communities. I feel like you got to get a lot of people on the same page. If you were going to do like the whole city was down, you're just like, you're at the grocery store and we're like,
you need a tribe. Can't have a city.
Instead of a kid's like drop off area at the grocery store, it's like, oh, just come in and do a little cuddle puddle with your fellow grocery store.
At the grocery store?
Yeah.
All right, sure.
Maybe like a farmer's market cuddle puddle.
That's not a bad idea.
We should have a booth at the next farmer's market.
There we go.
For a cuddle puddle.
Yeah.
That'd be great. At one of our
Two Fun Guys cuddle
DJ
puddles.
says, we just throw a giant.
There you go.
Yeah, we just
Cuddle puddle and Mushiverse.
in
there
the
we
back
go.
of the DJ set.
Mushiverse.
Yeah,
and
we just
Two
have
Fun Guys sponsored
We should make
event.
a giant plushy mushroom that's like 20 feet by 20 feet.
A plush room.
I have a 9-foot one.
You have a
You have a
9 foot.
9-foot mushroom?
I mean, it's not 20, but it's 9 feet.
Maybe we just get like 5 of those.
Yeah.
And then just like little mushy pods.
9 feet is pretty tall for a plushy mushroom.
Yeah, that's pretty
it's
good.
a blow up. It glows.
All right, we'll discuss this. We'll do a pop up cuddle puddle. I think that's actually
I think it'd be
nobody's doing that.
hilarious.
Like a mega mushroom beanbag. That's like could fit 30 people on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that lawn area in Mueller during the farmer's market is perfect. That's where I was envisioning. I'm seeing it happen. I mean, have a big sign, a big rainbow over it. People are like, who are they and what are they doing?
Okay. I wanted to ask you, on your, journey to here, has there been a time where you've been really knocked off? You like feeling in alignment with yourself, like feeling good, feeling mentally well? Like, has there been an experience or like life situation where it really knocked you back and it kind of threw you off and you had to overcome coming through that?
Oh yes, I'm a phoenix. I've definitely danced in the ashes many, many, many times. And I'd say you can only be able to know the heights of light as much as you have been willing to dance in the depths of darkness, same as you can only love people to the depths of which you've learned to love yourself. I've definitely, of course, been through so many different harsh challenges and thresholds and been to some really low points. So as an alchemist, it's kind of you gotta know how to alchemize that. It's a part of the game. I'd say I've I've been at points where people would probably never believe. I've been at points where I've been wondering, what it would like if life didn't have to be a part of my experience. And that can be a really dark place to be. I've been at that point where I barely had 2 pennies to rub together, and that was a really sad place to be. I've been at the point where my heart was completely obliterated and to where I actually had to go to the doctor because my heart actually had literal tears in it. Full physical heartbreak can actually happen, I realized. I've seen so many different pages of darkness, as I'm sure those who are really walking this walk have all gone through their own chapters. But what's gotten me out of all those experiences every time, like one, let's just say if you're feeling very alone in life, we'll start from the first one I was talking about, and just feeling like there's maybe nothing left for you. All I can say to that individual is, you have no idea how good it's about to get. And there are so many beautiful souls you have yet to meet. And there is so much more adventure that you're going to experience. And the level of abundance that you couldn't even imagine is awaiting for you on the other side. And the amount of people you're going to get to positively impact is also on the other side. But you have to trust, you have to have faith, and you have to remember who you are in those moments, which I know can be really hard. It can be challenging, especially when you're like weeping in your car and it's one of those days where you're like, oh my God. But you have to surrender and you have to be willing to trust and keep moving forward. There's going to continue to be days that are intense, but you know what? It's how we choose to alchemize it. And it's by remembrance, it's through faith, it's through surrender, it's through trust. When it comes to, heartbreak, or it comes to imposter syndrome and what you're doing, whatever it may be, all these things, it comes down to your willingness to remember you are this all-powerful, multidimensional being, like I said earlier, and then being able to tap into the most unconditional love that lies on the inner and really taking that time to recharge there so that you can actually come back out here in this experience. And remember, none of us are ever alone. We are all always interconnected. I mean, even us sitting here right now with our nervous systems, we can't see it in the physical, but from an auric perspective, in the aura plane, all of our auras are like mixing around right now energetically. It is such a wild thing to think about. And I think what's really pushed me past all those experiences is one, knowing that I have a divine mission before me and I can't give up on that divine mission. And two, that God was very direct with me at a very young age. He spoke into my life when I was literally 3 years old. And I am trying my best to always be living in service through that mission that's been ordained for me to be able to not only myself ascend in consciousness, but help the collective ascend in consciousness by becoming a greater embodiment of love and truth. And I think that the more and more that we can be able to be willing to keep learning throughout the process and realize that the more that we refine ourselves through all the teachings, all the downfalls, that's only what's going to get us to where we want to go. Like, I don't know one person in this world who's achieved such grand success without failing miserably so many times. I mean, if you're not failing, you're not trying, which means that you're never going to be able to succeed. You have to be able to be willing to fail. You have to be able to be willing to fall, and not being in fear of failing, realizing that failing just means that you're open to saying yes to the opportunity of life and realizing that there's many different waves within the riptide of the entire experience.
Stargates?
Stargates, anyone?
Yeah, we can talk about Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates.
Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming out about Stargates and Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates and Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates and Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates and Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates and Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates and Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates and Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates and Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates and Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates and Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates and Stargates. Yeah, you got to tell, because you got a video coming up about Stargates and Stargates something? Stargates and didn't you say there's two things?
Stargates is one of the ones that I'm releasing, and then
they're separate.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Stargates is one that I'll be releasing, and then the one after that, I'll be talking actually about parasites, and it's actually going in depth about energetic parasites and how it actually relates to cancer in the body. So that'll be a separate video. But
And you have a YouTube channel? Where do you drop these?
Instagram.
Just like full. Are you gonna do
like reels?
Okay, so
yeah,
you can do multiple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like she's like, I'm going to go super in depth in this 90-second reel.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna have to do a larger one on YouTube for the Stargates just because it is so intensive. But the one that I'll be releasing tomorrow is talking about the 12 planetary Gaia grid Stargates. So there's 2 different Stargates that I'll be discussing in the bigger video because there's no way that you can fit that within a small reel. The 2 different Stargate systems, there is the Gaia grid, and then there is the SG1 network. And that is a different Stargate system that actually crosses over the Gaia ley lines. So some of them actually intersect and some of them are similar, but they are differentiating. And essentially, these Stargate portals are places around the world that are planetary meridians, like acupuncture points on Mother Earth's body, which are activating our own chakric system when we're there. So, for example, when you are in the Giza Plateau within Egypt, it is an energetic signature of rebirth, resurrection, timelessness. And then from a chakra perspective, it activates the crown and third eye chakra, which is amazing because when you're in these places, it's like you can have your own beautiful experiences, but knowing that if you go there with a focus of like, oh, I'm really honing and working on these different chakras right now, you can get a double whammy of an extra accelerator in these different chakra points. I was mentioning to you earlier too, like in Uluru, Australia, that itself being a Stargate is like the umbilical cord of the earth. And it has a lot of solar activation at that exact point. So it's perfect for solar plexus activation. It's great for creativity, creation, and moving with life with greater conviction. So
it's so funny. I went to the Pyramids of Giza as a sort of rebirth coming of age trip without knowing that it was a Stargate.
I love that. I'm headed there at the end of this month, which I'm really excited. And I actually learned more recently about all the Stargates. Like I knew kind of them, but I didn't fully know. And I've just been down this wormhole recently. So I'm like, I gotta give the information to the people and share it. Where do they come from?
You said the Gaia grid. What is the Gaia?
So the Gaia grid actually looks like an infinity energetically over the entire planet. And it goes over these 12 different coordinates. The SG1 network crosses over and actually shares some, but the SG1 Stargate network is more for intergalactic connection and ancient civilization, where the ones that I'm talking about and the one that's coming out tomorrow is specifically focused on the planetary Stargates within Earth that are focused all on chakric activation. So the other video will go into the SG1 where some people are utilizing more communications with extraterrestrials and the intergalactic technologies and all that fun stuff. But
the Stargate grid, is that from astronomy? Like where did it come from?
Oh, absolutely. So the connection of it, of Orion and Pleiades and also the solstices, they connect, creating this like congruent projection onto the Earth. And all these different points around the Earth have literally like they've gone through different scales and be able to see from an energetics perspective where it's giving off more at these points and interconnected within Gaia's natural chakra system itself. And so like we have 7, but the Earth actually has 12, which is very unique. It actually is cosmologically tying to the Vedic imprint of the 12 constellations above and being projected down onto the Earth.
Wow, that's wild. Is there any in the U.S.?
Yeah. Sedona is one of them. Mount Shasta in California as well. Mount Shasta being like obviously that vortex with just the clouds moving around. It's interesting. I feel like recently in the past few years and all the places I've been thinking of going, just feeling drawn to, I didn't even realize were all Stargate places. And when I was born in California, I would look out of my window and I could see Mount Shasta from my window. And it's interesting, all the things tying together.
Do you think Austin itself has a vortex of energy? Maybe it's not a chakra, but do you feel like
Absolutely.
being here?
Absolutely.
What do you think it is?
I definitely think that Austin is vortex. I think it is a vortex. It's also been written and researched too. An enchanted rock close by here too is a deep activation point as well. But Austin itself absolutely is a vortex. I think there's many vortexes though around the world. I don't think that we should be ignorant and say that, oh, Austin's just the only one. I love Austin, hence being here a very long time. I think that it is unique, though, in the sense that we've been able to cultivate a community that does have a deep advancement within the health and consciousness community. But also, of course, you're going to come across, the pseudo spiritual aspect, but that's anywhere you go, right? And it's just fine tuning that. But I think like when traveling in so many different places, coming back to Austin, like there is a very advanced amount of individuals here within this city that we get the opportunity to connect with, which is actually one of the hardest reasons for me to start imagining living in a different area. That's why I travel and go different places. But I think it's become such a magnetic hub for so many people. And I think that we do have the convergence of city and nature. I just miss having more nature. Like I miss like deep forests and woods. But I do think that Austin in itself is such a beautiful nest for individuals' growths, for their own connections, their network, their creation. I think it is one of the most bountiful places for entrepreneurs as well. I spent a lot of time in California, in Miami, in Manhattan, and I think that by far Austin beats it out of the park when it comes to advancing your own creation as an entrepreneur and within your community. I've met so many amazing, beautiful individuals, and I have so many different circles that I get the opportunity to help be a part of and connect with. And I think that's what makes this place really unique for all of us.
That sums it up real well.
Yep.
Do you have any more questions for?
I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the medicines that you brought here today before we end up?
Absolutely. So this one is going to be Nova Nectar. Nova Nectar is our micro Lucy tincture. This is for clarity, concentration, focus. It helps people reach more of a amplified imaginative state. Great for doing before work, or also helping you like if you're doing a creative project as well, or you just want more energy throughout the day that's in a very honed in awareness type of way. This is going to be our heart vial. The heart vial is great for heart opening. It's amplifying your own self-love as well as the connection to others. It's beautiful for conscious communication enhancement as well. One of my personal favorites to be able to add with microdoses as well as our macro ceremonial doses. This is our microdose pack. The microdose pack is set up for a mini microdose protocol of 10 days that you have in here. This is great for getting back on the beginning step of the neurogenesis peak point. This is great for clarity, focus, helping with emotional regulation, helping heal the nervous system. It's also helping rebuild the synapses in the brain and to be able to help with neuroplasticity. Could be our combination of the S and R isomer. So you're getting that beautiful combination of the mind and body. And this is helping with being able to have that wave of calm that we were talking about, and a little bit of dissociating from the mind so you can be a little bit more in the heart space and a little bit more back in the body.
And you have different things you can add to that as well, right?
Yeah. We have infusions that we add to the sprays, all the way from rose, lavender, blue lotus, and our two new ones that just came out, which are pink lotus and white lotus. Not a lot of people talk about the pink lotus and white lotus, but pink lotus is great to add, for example, to our oxytocin spray. It amplifies that state of love, of upliftment. The white lotus is great for purification, for tranquility. So adding that, let's say, to the S and R isomer adds an even greater sense of tranquility and peace. The blue lotus, let's say, will add more of like that dreamlike and euphoria experience. So all the lotuses are such profound flowers. So it's an honor to work with them. This one is Mushiverse. Mushiverse is our functional stack. So the functional stack is not containing anything psychedelic. This is something you can use as an amplifier with them, or just by yourself to be able to have, or by itself rather, to have concentration, focus, clarity, longevity, cellular regeneration, and also helping with beauty as well. This has lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, himutsake, enoki, chaga, turkey tail, and trumpet. 2 more here. This is our Cosmic Chocolate Bar sample. This is the one I brought for y'all today. And
Right.
That's the original product.
yeah, this is our original. I don't have the main full size one here today, but this is the fun little sample one today. Actually put some extra in there for y'all.
Aw, thank you.
And that's
Yeah.
a dark chocolate sea salt. And then our galactic gummies have a strawberry banana essence in them. They are tasty and squishy, but these are going to have the mushy infusion with our functional as well. Great for euphoria, heart opening, a little bit more imaginative, a little bit more emotionally regulated, and just more aware and clear in general with them. And that's what we got for today, guys.
So beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for bringing these and
Yeah.
showing these. How do people find you, learn more about you, and actually get in contact to,
Yeah, absolutely.
partake in your
So
medicine with you?
on Instagram is a great place to be able to reach out to me. We also have a website with the products, but if you're curious to actually just learn more, I never turn away someone that reaches out with questions. I'm always happy to assist. We also have a private members group on Signal, which if anyone's ever curious to be added to it, we'll be happy to be able to assist you so you can be a part of that journey. You'll always be within the broadcast of all the fun events that we're doing. We do a lot of health and wellness events, as well as focus on bringing creators, builders, entrepreneurs together to be able to help the collective. And that's another great way. Or if you get our micro to macro guide, there's other insiders in here too that people can access to be able to join in on other fun stuff.
Ooh, nice.
We like fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Bridget, thank you so much for coming.
Did you call her Bridget?
Yes.
You son of a
Dominique.
bitch.
I was like,
Where did that come from?
It's okay.
Wow, we're so high on medicine by proxy that my brain has gone into overdrive.
It's okay.
mode.
No worries.
Dominique
Thank you
Pitts,
guys for having
apologies.
me. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
love what you're doing, and
Yeah.
thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's an honor. Appreciate it.
Mm.